Is this the bike that brings Suzuki back to its former glory? Well, it's been a while since we've seen an all-new model from Suzuki, and this one right here is very exciting. This is the 2023 V-Strom 800DE. It's an all-new engine, it's an all-new chassis, it's an all-new unit in the V-Strom line. The most probably exciting part of the motorcycle isn't the motorcycle as a whole, but the engine. This new 776cc parallel twin is the most amazing power delivery in the midsize category that I've ever ridden. It produces 57.5 pound-feet of torque, a peak of 6,800 RPM. Down low, it's just like an instant delivery. It's almost like an electric motorcycle. When you crack the throttle, it's immediately there, and it's amazing. Horsepower-wise, 84 horsepower at 8,500 RPM, and it's so rideable all the way across the rev range because of that torque number. For an adventure bike that is maybe an 80-20 or a 70-30 adventure bike, it's at the lower end of the price scale. This bike right here is $11,349. It does the job, and it does it pretty well. Chassis-wise, you've got a steel frame, bolt-on subframe, which is nice for an adventure bike in case you have an accident or whatever. It's easily replaceable. Showa suspension front and rear, 220 millimeters of travel, preload, compression, and rebound. In terms of chassis handling, it's super quick to react. And when you're in the corner, it really sticks, and you can really feel what the front tire is doing, and it's really easy to ride. Off-road, the front end feel isn't as great, but that doesn't come down to the chassis, it more comes down to the tire choice. Very street oriented, and you can really feel that when you're riding off-road. You don't have a lot of confidence in the front end when there's a lot of gravel and rocks and chunk, but when you get on the hard pack gravel, they work really, really well, and they actually grab a lot more traction than you think they would. Let's talk about traction control. You have 3 power modes, and you have 3 ABS modes. So you have traction control 3, traction control 2, traction control 1, and traction control off. Traction control 2 comes out a little bit softer, a little bit slower, and it keeps you really hooked up. 1, a little more maybe slip, but not dirt slip. And then you go to off, and you can turn it completely off. But then there's one more mode in traction control, and that's gravel mode. This one they did well, and they kind of did it a little bit differently. It really seems to hook up really well, and you don't get a lot of wheel spin, but you also don't feel like you're being held back. It just really moves the bike forward out of the corners, keeps the bike going straight, but you're accelerating really hard. Power mode A is very strong. Throttle response is quick, almost too quick off-road, but with gravel mode, it works, but you're gonna be accelerating really hard. B, it dampens the power, and it's a lot more easily controllable, the throttle response. So most people, I would say, you want to put it in gravel mode, you want to put it in mode B, and you're going to have a fine time off-road. On the street, level 1 is awesome, level A is awesome. It gives it a real sporty, snappy character that really moves out of the corners. And then you have ABS modes. Off, which is really not all the way off. You always have front ABS, but it turns off the rear ABS for dirt. It works well. Mode 1, which is kind of a sporty mode, and mode 2, which is really locked down and careful. In the dirt, I really didn't bang into the ABS too often, so that's a really nice system. And on the street, level 1, never ran into it, it never intervened too early, it just does its thing. So overall, the electronics, simple and basic in a way, but they allow you to change things and set the bike up how you want it very, very easily. In terms of ergonomics, mixed bag for me. This seat is super comfortable. One of the best adventure bike seats for comfort that I've ever sat on, honestly. Very, very nice and comfortable seat. But the tank, it's a little bit more of a spread to get your knees around, to get your head near the steering head, to be able to get your proper body positioning for off-road handling while you're standing. And that brings me to the second point, which is when you're in that proper position, when you're leaning forward over the bars are set kind of far back, and that puts the bars kind of into your waist rather than out in front of you, which makes it a little bit tricky when you're accelerating out of corners to hold yourself forward and stay over the bike and keeping that pressure on the front tire. But when you're on the street and you're sitting down, super comfortable, super fine street bike, pretty good adventure bike, but you would need some customization, I think, or some changes to really make it a really good dirt machine. So I can't wait to ride the GSX 8S. It's gonna be a great motorcycle because this engine is unbelievable. Suzuki was never gone, but at the same time, Suzuki's back. That's my review of the 2023 V-Strom 800DE. If you like what we're doing, hit the like button, subscribe, tell your friends, and if you got questions for me, put them down below. We'll see you next time.